Pokemon Gold and Silver were released in Japan on November 21st, 1999, and in the following years, the rest of the world would also see the release of these games. Since these are one of the older Pokemon games, chances are if you stumbled across this video, you've already played through Gold and Silver, or at least know the general idea on how to beat them. But have you ever played through Pokemon Gold and Silver exactly how Nintendo intended it to be? I have this super shiny official Gold and Silver strategy guide approved by Nintendo from Prima. Well, actually, apparently it's Prima, as I learned from the comments of my Fire Red as Nintended video. But come on guys, I'm a YouTuber, do you really expect me to know how to read? All I know how to do is pull up these YouTube analytics pages that say over 90% of people who watch my videos are cool cats, but only about 10% of people who watch my videos are even cooler cats. And we all know that YouTube analytics never lie. So let's take a look at this Gold and Silver guide and see what it tells us. First, I noticed that the copy I have is the Electronic Boutique exclusive version, which I believe is the Canadian one, a store that I haven't even seen in about 15 years or so, and we have a sealed secrets section, whatever that means. I look at the back of the guide and see the sealed secrets section and notice that I can pull open some of these pages to see more secrets and more pages, although they are a little hard to rip open. One of them tells me about colored Pokemon, very poor choice of words there, which are shiny Pokemon. They managed to catch 10 colored Pokemon while making this guide, which is pretty impressive, especially since one of them was Lugia. There was a berry page in the back as well, and look, surprisingly it's completely intact this time and not cut out. At the start of the guide, it tells me how to use the guide, although all it really does is tell me how Gold and Silver are loose equals to Red and Blue, there's now a day-night cycle as well as some other new features upon Red and Blue in these games, and that I should refer to the quick and dirty path for a brief walkthrough of these games' events. The what now? On the next page is where we can finally begin our journey, as the guide tells us how to play Pokemon Gold and Silver. Now if you're new to this series, welcome by the way, hope you guys enjoy these videos and stay a while. In these videos, I follow the guide exactly how it tells me to in order to beat the game, and try my best to avoid any prior knowledge I have on these games or Pokemon as a whole, as I've played through every single main series Pokemon game multiple times at this point. I decided to play Silver version as well, since that's the version I first got when I was a kid, and come on, Lugia is just way cooler than Ho-Oh and you know it. So now it's time to start up a new copy in Pokemon Silver and beat it exactly as Nintended. The getting started part of this guide tells me to name my character, set the clock, then go see Professor Elm to pick my starter Pokemon. With the other two guides I did videos on like this, they told me just to pick the starter that I liked the most, however this guide actually breaks down each starter a little bit more. For Totodile, it says, the water type Pokemon is a good all-around choice for a starting Pokemon. Its greatest strength is its HM flexibility. Of the 3 starting Pokemon, it can use the most HMs and has no weakness against Pokemon you encounter at the beginning part of the game. This is a great starting Pokemon for any player. A lot of this is actually true. Although Totodile does struggle against the Bellsprouts in the Sprout Tower, which appear very early on in the game, it's still a pretty solid option. For Cyndaquil, it reads, known for its fiery quills, this fire type is the strongest of the 3 starting Pokemon. In fact, you can make it through most of the game on the strength of this Pokemon alone. Its final form, Typhlosion, is extremely powerful. Choose Cyndaquil if you're playing Silver version and your Typhlosion and Lugia will take on the Elite Four easily. Cyndaquil is the best choice for new players who want to speed through the game. And then finally, there's Chikorita, which I think the guide has the best description for out of any of these starting Pokemon. It says, a grass-type Pokemon with girlish looks. Chikorita is the most challenging of the starting Pokemon. It's not particularly strong against any of the Pokemon you'll encounter in the first part of the game. In fact, it's extremely weak against most of the gym Pokemon, so you must spend a lot of time leveling it up and building a team of support Pokemon. Chikorita is recommended for experienced Pokemon trainers or players who want a challenge. I love how the guide pretty much just says that Chikorita is trash and heavily implies that newer players, like me technically, should pick Cyndaquil. I picked Cyndaquil of course since the guide says it's the best one and name it Subscribble. I also notice a tip on the same page that tells me about the Nintendo of America testers and what team they use while playing through Gold and Silver. It says they use Typhlosion, Lugia, Ampharos, and Graveler/Golem. Only 4 Pokemon, but it should give us a good outline for what our team should look like. The following few pages then tell me some more basics about Pokemon, like how to catch Pokemon, various type advantages and disadvantages, and stuff like that. It also tells me to look out for the new baby Pokemon introduced in these games, although some of them, like Magby for example, it just shows a question mark for the image instead of showing the actual Magby image. Apparently this guide was made before Pokemon Gold and Silver were officially released in North America, and they didn't have access to the images of every Pokemon and probably didn't know where to find them in the game in order to take a screenshot of them, although they were able to take screenshots of the shiny Pokemon somehow. There's a few other small errors in this section, like this one part that explains the various Hitmon evolutions and called Tyrogue Tyrone, and is also missing the image for Tyrogue. I eventually make it back to the gameplay part of the guide, and on Route 29 the guide tells me how Sentrets only appear at the daytime and that it's a squirrel-like Pokemon. Maybe this is me just nitpicking a little bit, but Sentret is a ferret, not a squirrel, which you can tell from the name Sentret as well as from the name of its evolution Furret, but it also says how Hoot Hoots only appear at night, and spells night N-I-T-E. There's some parts of the guide where they spell night correctly with the G, but most of the time it's spelled without the G, and I don't understand why. The rest of the first mission is pretty straightforward. I talk to Mr. Pokemon and Professor Oak, fight my rival on my way back to the Pokemon lab, and make sure my Cyndaquil is at least level 6 like the guide suggests, then get to the lab and name my rival Ren since he kinda looks like Ren from Cardfight Vanguard. I also caught a Geodude on Route 46 since the guide did tell me they appear there and also tell me that Nintendo testers use them and I should look into them as well, and I named the Geodude Fiona. Now I have to head over to Violet City and take care of some events over there. The first thing I noticed, which also happens later in the guide, is that it has some things in a weird order. Like it would tell me to go to the Bellsprout Tower first, but then have more information about the Bellsprout Tower after the detailed part about the first gym. I go into the Bellsprout Tower first anyway, and go through it pretty easily thanks to my Cyndaquil, and I also leveled up and grinded my Geodude a little bit around this time. I get to the top, my Cyndaquil evolves into Colava, and I see my rival talking to the Sage. The guide mentions how my rival receives a scolding and asks if I could do better, which I think I do since I end up defeating the Sage, get the HM for Flash, and head out to prepare to fight the first gym leader. I also started to read a little bit ahead in this guide, which I didn't do too much in the previous videos like this, so I can better prepare myself for each important fight. The guide mentions how Chikorita fans, all like 6 of them, will struggle against the first gym, and spends about half the section saying how bad Chikorita is here. It says that Totodile and Cyndaquil users shouldn't have too much of a problem, but also recommends that I level up a Geodude to around level 11 so it could learn Rock Throw, so I do that anyway and get through this gym very easily. I head down to Route 32 and the guide tells me about 3 new Pokemon I can find on this route, being Mareep, Wooper, and Hoppip. For some reason it has detailed sections about Mareep and Wooper, but not Hoppip on this page, and it says I'll have more information about Hoppip on the section on Route 39, and I go to the section on Route 39 and all it has is a picture of Hoppip and no other information about it. I figure I should catch either Mareep or Wooper though, since they're both pretty decent types that I don't have, and since I was playing in the daytime and Wooper only appears at nighttime while I was recording this portion, I catch a Mareep. And it also happens that Mareep was one of the Pokemon that the Nintendo testers used when they played through these games. I was gonna name the Mareep Floof, but I thought that was a bit too basic since it's a really common nickname for Mareep, then consider naming it Butter, but then I just decided to tweet out a suggestion for a nickname and just go with whoever the first person replied with went with. And of course, the very first response I got on the tweet was somebody wanting me to name it Floof, the most generic nickname for a Mareep. Pokemon7 Plays wanted me to name it Butter, which just shows how cool he is. Before I head into the Union Cave, though, the guide has a small part about the ruins of Alph, but I skipped it by accident and didn't even realize it until now, but luckily it is an optional area. I finally make it over to Azalea Town right now, and the first thing I have to do is help Kurt take on Team Rocket in the Slowpoke well, which I do pretty easily since my team matches up very well against the Pokemon I come across. Now I get ready to head into Bugsy's gym where the guide recommends Fire, Rock, and Water. The first 2 make sense, and luckily I have a Pokemon of each of those types, but I don't really understand where the water part comes in here as none of his Pokemon are weak to water. I consider catching a Slowpoke though to get a water type, but figure it really isn't worth leveling up as of right now, especially since I already have 2 of the 3 recommended types for this gym. The fight with Bugsy goes very smoothly, although I did teach Flash to my Mareep to lower Scyther's accuracy, which the guide suggests if you have trouble with the Scyther. It mainly suggests that you do that if you pick Chikorita, since again, you would struggle against this gym as well if you pick Chikorita. But I flashed the Scyther a few times anyway before laying waste to his Intrepid team with my Fire type. Next we have to do another rival battle, which the guide says is one of the most critical rival battles in the whole game. I lead with Fiona against his Ghastly and get annoyed by some Hypnosis sleeps and licks, but aside from that I hammer away and win this battle pretty easily. I have to say, this guide may have some things in a weird order which makes following it a little bit confusing, but overall it does a really good job of recommending Pokemon and strategies to use in battle, and I haven't really noticed too many mistakes when it came to battling suggestions. Now I have to go through the Ilex Forest, and on the way I pick up the Charcoal and the TM for Headbutt like the guide recommends. It also tells me how I can get Pineco from headbutting the trees, so I decide to try and catch one on my own. After about 20 minutes or so of headbutting trees, I finally find one and get excited to catch it, just to have it use self-destruct on me. I try and find another but I can't, so I just exit the Ilex Forest and head to Route 34. I head through this route pretty easily and make it to Goldenrod City, the jewel of the Johto crown as the guide calls it. There's quite a lot of things for us to do here, like get our bike first of all, check out the department store, and on the 5th floor of the department store it says you can get a special TM depending on your Pokemon's affection rating, but only on Sundays. I happen to be playing this portion of the game on a Sunday in fact, but the lady still didn't give me any TMs as my affection levels were low enough or high enough to get either of the TMs that she would give you, being frustration or return. I explore the city a bit more anyway and come across this rather silly note on the page for the game corner, which reads, "The more money you spend, the better your chances of winning." Which isn't really great advice to give to someone when it comes to gambling, but luckily it didn't turn me into a gambling addict when I was a kid playing through this game. Next up we have to take on Whitney, the leader of the 3rd gym, and arguably the most notorious gym leader in all of Pokemon. This guide warns me about her Miltank's rollout as well as her Pokemon going for Attract, but luckily I have Fiona, who is a rock type, one of the guide's recommended types, and it is also a girl Geodude, meaning it can't be hit from Attract from her Pokemon either. The gym goes by very smoothly thankfully, and it makes you realize just how good rock types are when playing through these games. The guide then has a few pages about Goldenrod Underground area, the radio tower, and another rival battle, which does confuse me a little bit since for the rival battle it says he will have Pokemon in the 30s, which is a pretty high jump coming off of Whitney's gym. Turns out that all of these events are for when you come back to Goldenrod City later on in the game, but it doesn't tell me straight away and I don't understand why they didn't just hold this out for later. I proceed north to Route 35 anyway, then past the National Park, missing the bug catching contest since it isn't a Tuesday or Thursday, and I make it over to Route 37, which is a big connecting route in the Johto region, as it can lead us back to Violet City. The guide tells me about the Sudowoodo blocking my way and that I need to go back to Goldenrod to get the Squirt Bottle to make it move, which would have been a lot nicer to tell me before I got all the way here, but instead they dedicated a whole page to the game corner instead where you don't have to visit, instead of telling me just to pick up the Squirt Bottle after beating Whitney. I backtrack to go get the Squirt Bottle anyway and then come back and catch the Sudowoodo, naming it Brock and adding it to our team since it's level 20, which is pretty good. I get Rock Smash on this route as well for later, and since it was Sunday when I was playing this portion of the game still, I was able to get the Magnet Token, as the guide calls it for some reason, and give it to Flaffy to boost its electric type moves. I never realized how many daily events there are in Pokemon Gold and Silver, which is pretty cool now that I have this guide that points out pretty much all of them. Now we can finally make it to Ecruteak City, one of my favorite cities in all of Pokemon, with Morty, who is also one of my favorite gym leaders. The first thing I do is heal and run into Bill, who then heads back to his house in Goldenrod City, which I then go to as well since the guide tells me if I go meet him there he will give me an Eevee, which I name Eric. I'm unsure what I want to evolve this Eevee into yet, but I'll hold on to it for now. Now back in Ecruteak City, the next thing we have to do is take on the Kimono Girls in order to get the Surf HM, which I hammer away at in order to get rather quickly. I don't have a Pokemon that can learn Surf yet unfortunately, but I can't use it outside of battle yet until I get the Fog Badge, so I'm not too worried about it right now. Now we have to take on Morty, the Ghost-type gym leader. The guide recommends Ground-type Pokemon and Psychic types for his team, and luckily Fiona is also part Ground-type and has the move Magnitude, which will really help in this gym. I dispatch all of the trainers in the gym easily, and Fiona evolves to Graveler right before I'm about to fight Morty, which is great. I get through Morty so easily with Fiona since all of his Pokemon are part Poison, which is weak to Magnitude. When it comes to Morty being a Ghost-type trainer, I always thought it was weird how they added a Ghost-type gym leader into the Johto region, and then didn't give him Mystery Vis, the new Ghost-type Pokemon introduced in Gold and Silver. Now we have to go into the Burn Tower to fight our rival and also meet the 3 legendary Pokemon hiding in the basement. After I level up my Pokemon a little bit by battling all of the trainers on the following route, and then make it to Olivine City. The guide tells me to get the Super Rod and also tells me which water Pokemon I can catch nearby, so I do that and get a Magikarp and name it Mako since I know I'll need a water type eventually to use Surf. Luckily my Magikarp will evolve in only one more level since it's already level 20, although I completely forgot about how later in the game we get a shiny Gyarados pretty easily, and by the time I encounter it, it'll probably be a higher level than my current Gyarados. I pick up the HM for strength and clear the lighthouse next anyway, but now I have to head over to Cianwood City to pick up the medicine for the sick Ampharos in the lighthouse and take on another gym leader. I teach Surf to my newly evolved Gyarados, pick up the medicine from Cianwood City, and then head into the Cianwood City gym, although I am a little bit underleveled now, as you can see from the levels in the guide compared to the levels of my team. This is the point of the game where the levels begin to jump, one of the biggest flaws in the entire game. Heading into this gym, the guide recommends I use flying and psychic type Pokemon, and I do have a Gyarados, which is technically part flying type, although it doesn't have any flying type moves and I don't have any psychic Pokemon, unfortunately. I did pick up this Spearow from one of the guards though, nicknamed Kenya, but it's too low of a level for me to use right now and really not worth me grinding it 20 plus levels just for this one gym fight. This is the first gym that I actually struggle with, as Chuck beats me the first time I challenge him, and I also found it funny and laughed out loud a little bit how right before the battle started, he threw this boulder, then immediately after that I heard the Fortnite default dance song playing, since that's my follow alert on Twitch and somebody followed me while I was recording that part of the video and I forgot to turn off the notification sounds. If you want to follow me on Twitch as well, I'll leave a link to it in the description, as I do stream Pokemon sometimes and I am considered streaming these Nintended playthroughs over there just to make it a little bit easier for me. Anyway, I head over to the gym again this time and I save Flaffy to the end for his Poliwrath, and end up winning thanks to Flaffy as well as Eric, who tanked a hit while I was able to use a revive on my Flaffy. This part of the guide is also a bit confusing since now I have to backtrack again and go back a few pages since the Jasmine fight is supposed to be after the Chuck fight, although I guess you could technically do them out of order. I then head back to Olivine City, give Ampharos the medicine, then go into Jasmine's gym to take her on. She has level 35 Steelix as her highest level, which is about 5 levels higher than my current leveled Pokemon and a few levels higher than Chuck's highest Pokemon. I noticed that I have a great type advantage against her team though, since I have a Fire type, a Ground type, and a Water type, all of which the guide recommends, so I head in anyway. I take out her first Magnemite with Subscribble pretty easily, then in comes Steelix, which I weaken as much as possible with Embers until it falls, and then I send out my Gyarados, which is 11 levels under Steelix. I go for Surf, which does decent damage, but then Jasmine goes for a 500 IQ play and goes for Sunny Day, lowering the damage of my Water type moves to her Steelix. Gyarados eventually falls, but luckily I have Fiona, which ends up cleaning up Jasmine's team and continues to be the best Pokemon in my entire squad. Next we have to head over towards Mahogany Town and get our 7th gym badge, but I should probably grind up a couple of levels in between then since my team is starting to look a little weak. I finally make it over to Mahogany Town, and the sections are really out of order over here. First it has the gym battle against Price, which I can't do yet, then the Team Rocket hideout battles, which I also can't do yet, then on the following page it has the Lake of Rage events, which is what we have to do first despite it appearing last in the guide. I head into the Lake of Rage anyway to try and catch the red Gyarados and also get the red scale to get Lance to come visit. However, the Gyarados gets confused and ends up knocking itself out, which is quite unfortunate, but at least I already have a Gyarados of my own. I then take the red scale over to Mr. Pokemon like this tip in the guide suggests in order to get the EXP share, which I think will be perfect for Eric since I want it to evolve into either Espeon or Umbreon, and it is quite a bit underleveled. I'm currently playing at nighttime as this is recording, so there's a good chance it'll evolve into Umbreon sometime today. Now I'm able to head into the Team Rocket's hideout under Mahogany Town with the help of Lance, and the guide instructs me to turn off the security cameras to stop the grunts from seeing me when I pass by the statues that have a hidden camera on them, forcing the grunts to come and try to battle me. I do this, but in hindsight I probably should have just left the cameras on and battle as many grunts as I could for the XP since I am a bit underleveled. The guide does make a compelling argument to turn the cameras off though, by showing this image of a grunt finding you in front of the statue with the caption saying, "Do you get the idea that walking in front of these statues is a bad thing?" I'm able to get through the rest of the hideout pretty easily thanks to Fiona, which continues to be the best Pokemon on my team, and I also get the HM for Waterfall, which we can use later. Now we have to get ready to fight Price, the 7th gym leader of the Johto region, where the guide recommends that we use Electric, Fire, Steel, and Water types to hit all of his Pokemon super effective, and I have all of those types except for Steel, so this is looking pretty good for us, and I expected the guide to mention something about how people who started with Chikorita might struggle here since it is an Ice type gym and Chikorita is weak to Ice, but surprisingly it makes no mention of that, and the guide hasn't made fun of Chikorita fans for a little while now. Price's Pokemon are actually a lower level than the previous gym leader Jasmine's though, so I was able to defeat him without grinding up my Pokemon like I initially thought I would be able to. It feels weird having 7 badges and not even a fully evolved starter Pokemon yet, but we're doing pretty well so far. As I exit the gym, I get a call from Professor Elm warning me about Team Rocket trying to take over the radio tower, so now we have to backtrack all the way back to Goldenrod to take care of them. The guide has this part about 30 pages back of where we currently are now, since for some reason it has all of the events in the town in the same section as where you first visit that town, despite this part appearing like much later in the game. And I know I've said this a couple of times already, but I feel like this is the biggest flaw with this guide, where it has things in a weird order. I'm able to get through the first part of the radio tower pretty easily though, where I take on the fake director who tells me that the real director is locked underground. I try and go underground to rescue them and see that it's blocked by the rocket grunt still, and got confused here and thought I had to enter the underground from the basement of the department store. I also found out that each time I entered the basement of the department store at this point, the boxes would actually shift around, give me access to different areas to get different items, but this doesn't take me to the rest of the underground area. I checked the Goldenrod map quickly again to see if there's another entrance to the underground, and completely forgot that there's actually another entrance to the underground on the north side of the city, which Team Rocket isn't blocking for some reason. So I head on in there to rescue the director, but first we have to have another rival battle at a pretty terrible time. Like, I'm trying to stop Team Rocket from literally taking over the radio tower, and my rival wants to battle now. The guide says how I should be able to defeat my rival without very much thought, and since my team matches up so well since I have such good type diversity, I beat him with no problem. I then rescue the real director, get the card key from him, and then get access to the rest of the radio tower and clear out the remaining Team Rocket executives. I try and level up Coolava at this time as well, since it's actually my lowest level Pokemon as of right now. It even got past my Eric the Eevee because of the EXP share being so good. But I end up using Fiona for most of this since again she matches up so nicely against Team Rocket's Grimers, Zubats, and Coughings, hitting them all super effective. I clear out the rest of Team Rocket, and before leaving Goldenrod I head into the underground once again since it was Tuesday when I was recording this part, and I was able to give Eevee a haircut to help it evolve into either Espeon or Umbreon. Since I got the Silver Wing from saving the director in Goldenrod, I'm also able to go and catch Lugia in the Whirl Islands if I want to now. I teach Whirlpool to Gyarados to get access to it quicker, and I end up going through the cave and find Lugia's room very quickly thanks to the map in the guide. I thought I had already gotten the Master Ball at this point. I could have sworn that Lance gave it to me, but apparently I don't have it yet, and I don't end up realizing this until after I started the Lugia battle. I also didn't have that many other Pokeballs on me, so I Thunder Wave the Lugia with my recently evolved Ampharos, then chip away at its health, and start chucking whatever Pokeballs that I have. I ended up getting insanely lucky and ended up catching Lugia with a regular Pokeball, which is fantastic, and I named the Lugia Skippy. I immediately added to the team over Kenya as my flyer, and with this also means that we finally have the 4 recommended Pokemon that the Nintendo of America testers use while playing through Gold and Silver, being Graveler, our starter which is now a Coolava, Ampharos, and finally Lugia. Now we have to head into the Ice Path, which leads us to Blackthorn City, home of the 8th and final gym in the Johto region. I noticed that this part mentions the sealed section again, so I check it out on the back and open it up to see a more detailed explanation of how to get through the Ice Path, which was very helpful since I did get stuck on the first puzzle. It also suggests I catch a Jinx around here for the Claire fight since Ice is good against her Dragon-type Pokemon team, but I didn't feel like leveling up another Pokemon, and I already taught Icy-Wind to Lugia, so I thought that would be good enough. Now that we're in Blackthorn, all that we really have to do here that's important is challenge Claire and get the Raging Badge, the final badge in Johto. Well, actually it's called the Rising Badge, not the Raging Badge, but the guide mistakenly calls this badge by the wrong name. I'm able to hammer away at Claire pretty easily thanks to Icy Winds from my Lugia, although I do get paralyzed, which is annoying. I eventually get her ace Pokemon, Kingdra, and decide to shuffle in my other Pokemon against it in order to chip away as much damage as I can and give Lugia an easier time to KO it, since Lugia got paralyzed quite a few times in this fight and I actually ran out of ways to heal it. Luckily, I'm able to land in an Aeroblast and defeat Claire and her Kingdra, and quickly collect the Dragon Fang from the Dragon's Den behind her gym in order to get the 8th gym badge. Claire tells me how I now have to head east of New Barktown to get into the Elite Four and head towards Kanto, and Professor Elm also calls me to tell me that he has something for me, which ends up being the Master Ball. There really isn't anything I want to use the Master Ball on at this point since I already got my Lugia, but it's good to have, I guess. I make it through the next couple of routes pretty easily and into Victory Road and collect the TM for Earthquake like the guide suggests. This will be great for Fiona, and now we have the final rival battle before the Elite Four. The guide mentions how he has a Kadabra and how strong it is, just like how the Fire Red guide kept on saying how strong my rival's Kadabra was, but luckily I have Eric the Eevee with Bite to help out against the Kadabra. Somehow this Eevee still hasn't evolved despite being my second highest level Pokemon as of right now. I'm not sure if the EXP share affects it in any way, but I thought that leveling it up would at least boost its happiness. I'm able to get through the rest of his team pretty easily, then I stock up on some items, teach my Pokemon a few TMs, and head into the Elite Four. The guide tells me how the trainers here have Pokemon in the mid to late 40s for the most part, which is much higher than my team as you can see from this image. It also says how a well-balanced team of Pokemon that are in their 30s, 40s, and a couple in the 50s should be good here, and even though I don't have anything close to level 50 as of yet, I still think I'll be okay. The guide even lists some recommended Pokemon for the Elite Four, which include Typhlosion, Lugia, and Graveler, all of which are on my team. I go in and get completely destroyed by Will, with his Pokemon one-shotting some of my team members even. I realized pretty quickly that I won't be able to win this battle, let alone win the rest of the Elite Four battles, so when I lose I head into the victory road to train a little bit. I use my Gyarados mostly since a lot of the Pokemon here are ground types that can get one-shotted by it pretty easily, and I gave the EXP share to my other Pokemon to help out leveling up. I grind for quite a while and get all of my team to the early 40s or so, with Gyarados being my highest now, and head back in. The guide says how Will is going to lead with his Xatu, so I lead with Floof to take it out with a Thunder Punch pretty easily. All of Will's Pokemon are dual types, so I have something that's super effective against all of his Pokemon to take him down pretty easily with none of my Pokemon fainting this time. Next up we have Koga, and the guide recommends I use Fire type since his team has a lot of fire weaknesses. Typhlosion, which evolved while I was grinding, takes care of most of his team pretty easily, with Fiona clearing out his Muck and Crobat with an Earthquake and a Rock Throw. No one fainted this time either, but my team does get a little bit banged up, so I do have to heal quite a bit. Now we have to take on Bruno, and the guide says how fighting Bruno is a lot like taking on the Cianwood City gym again. This concerns me since the Cianwood gym was the gym that gave me the most trouble out of all of the battles in the game so far, but at least now I have Lugia, which should help a lot in this fight. It's Psychic and Flying type, which are the two recommended types, and it tanks out most of Bruno's fighting type Pokemon pretty easily, while Gyarados takes care of the Onix, and Lugia does end up falling to a Rock Slide from his Machamp, but luckily Ampharos comes in to give us the win. Karen is up next, the fourth member of the Elite Four. The guide recommends I use Fighting and Psychic types, and although I do technically have a Psychic type in Lugia, I have no Psychic or Fighting type moves to use against her. I decided to lead with Fiona against her Umbreon anyway since I figure that Fiona's my strongest Pokemon right now, and a few Earthquakes take the Umbreon down pretty easily. Typhlosion takes care of the Vileplume, then Fiona comes back in for the Gengar and Houndoom. Houndoom nearly kills Fiona with a Crunch, but luckily I one-shot it with an Earthquake. Now all that's left is Karen's Murkrow, which I use my Electric type Ampharos on like the guide suggests. I heal my team up, and now it's time for the big one, Champion Lance. All of his Pokemon are flying types, so I can't Earthquake them with Fiona like I've been relying on so much lately, so I lead with Floof and one-shot his lead Gyarados. It does outspeed me and hit me with a Hyper Beam though, something that all of Lance's Pokemon have. It's a very strong move, but luckily makes you take a turn to recharge and do nothing, which we can take advantage of. For Lance's first Dragonite, I rely on Icy Winds from Skippy and luckily dodge a Thunder Wave to knock it out without taking any damage. I try the same strategy for the second Dragonite, but this time it lands the Thunder Wave and hits me with the Blizzard. I'm able to break through and knock out the second Dragonite anyway, but I switch to my Gyarados on his Aerodactyl. It does a lot of damage to Gyarados with its Rock Slide, and my Surf doesn't even knock it out. Gyarados ends up falling to Aerodactyl, so I send out Eric since I have yet to use him in the Elite Four yet and figure he could get a knockout on a weak Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl goes for Hyper Beam though, and somehow Eevee lives, and knocks it out with 2 bites while the Aerodactyl has to recharge from Hyper Beam. Charizard comes in next, so I switch to Fiona, take a ton of damage from Flamethrower, then miss on a KO with Rock Throw. I send out Typhlosion to finish it off after my Graveler falls, and all that's left now is Lance's third and final Dragonite. I use a full restore on my paralyzed Lugia since I know I'll need it to win, and once Typhlosion falls, I hammer away at Lance's Dragonite with Lugia and finally knock it out. And with that, we have become the champion and beat Pokemon Silver as Nintendo intended. Well, sort of. Some people got mad in the comments of my last few videos like this, saying that this isn't the official Nintendo Power Guide, so it isn't the same, but the licensed third-party guides are usually funnier, which is why I like them. All around, I think this was a pretty good guide. It was rushed as it was missing images for some of the new Pokemon, but outside of that there really weren't too many mistakes and did a good job at telling me how to get through the game, as well as what Pokemon to use at what points. I do have a couple of other guides that are the official Nintendo Power Guides though, so be on the lookout for videos about those guides. I'm also thinking about doing videos like this for other games that I played a lot as a kid, like maybe some Zelda games or possibly Sonic games. This style of video doesn't seem like it'll work well with most types of games unfortunately, but I do think it works really well for Pokemon. I also want to give a huge shout out again to Mystery Or for inspiring this video with his Minecraft videos, and I also want to thank each and every one of you for watching my videos and supporting me. If you made it this far in the video and enjoyed it, consider leaving a like as it helps a ton, and subscribe for more videos. As I'm making this video, we are very close to hitting 50,000 subscribers, which is crazy since not too long ago I just hit 20,000. Be sure to also let me know in the comments down below what other games, Pokemon games or not Pokemon games, you want to see me make videos like this on next. And with all that being said, I just want to thank you guys all for watching. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all next time, and bye bye.